Well, I do appreciate you coming. So I don't know if you've heard any of the podcasts.
I have.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So this is a podcast where we discuss beliefs, but it's kind of different because we don't discuss necessarily the belief itself. I want to know more so why you believe what you believe and how it is that you have come to believe what you believe.
All right.
So I'm really looking forward to talking to you. And I remember looking at your website, but it's been a while because I think it took us a while to get scheduled up for you to come
Yeah.
here. But I do appreciate you being here.
Sure. Thank you for the invite. That was really out of the blue. And stuff.
Yeah,
So I like
yeah.
new things. I'm like, who is this Mark Solomon guy? And
Well, yeah. I'm sure you're not the first person to say that.
but then I start to click on the link within your email.
Yeah.
And that's it. I started listening to some of the episodes. Like, that's interesting.
Oh,
So,
good.
yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, again, thank you so much for coming. It's a nice day. Hopefully, you don't have any fear of chickens.
No fear chicken.
Because I don't think any are around right now. I think they're hiding, which is good. Do you happen to have a strong belief about something you wish?
Yeah, I strongly believe that cupping therapy works. And I'm very happy that you asked me to come on so then we can discuss why I believe in it so passionately. Where there are medical professional who say that's just pseudoscience.
Okay.
So it'd be, I think, be informative for your listeners too, because not many people know what cupping is. Anywho.
Okay, great. Well, that sounds, and I don't think we've ever talked about this on the podcast, so that's excellent.
Yeah.
What is cupping therapy?
So cupping therapy is an ancient modality to help humans get muscle tension relief. It have a positive effect on certain internal issues that we have, not just for muscular tension relief.
Okay. So cupping therapy helps your muscles.
Right.
And what, I would imagine there's people who are listening who haven't heard of cupping therapy before. What exactly happens in cupping therapy?
So cupping therapy is a practice where the practitioner utilize a cup that can be made out of several materials. In ancient time, people used animal horns, bamboo cups, and as human evolved, we created cups out of ceramic, glass, and now most popular is silicone and polycarbonate, hard plastic cups. So the practitioner would deliver a vacuum suction on the targeted muscle or the area that you want to work on, or you want to target a certain illness or condition that you're having internally. And then you place the cup strategically on the body and pull the vacuum on it and let the magic happen.
And what is that magic? So there's a vacuum. What happens?
Right. So that magic, I said, is when your muscle tissues are being pulled up by this negative pressure by the cups. So how is that beneficial to us human is when we are pulling a vacuum on our tissues, you're giving your body spacing in between those tissues under the skin, which you cannot see. But there is an MRI imaging on Google that you can find by Dr. DePrato to show you what is happening underneath that we cannot see with our naked eyes. So with spacing in our tissues, we are actively calling for our blood flow system to bring fresh oxygenated blood to flow into that area to replenish, restore, and help heal that area.
Okay.
With fresh nutrients.
So there's a vacuum and a cup, and you push the cup up, and so it puts a space between the skin and your...
no, the cup stay direct contact
Okay.
with your skin, and there's a mechanical pump now where you
I see.
relieve, what you call evacuate the air inside of the cylinder shape, which is the cup, and it pulls your vacuum. If you ever have a vacuum cleaner hose
exactly, sure,
over your skin, that's what it would feel like, but in a constant vacuum state.
Yeah, and I truly don't know anything about cupping therapy. So what is it that by a suction, pulling up your skin, how does that heal you? How does that help?
It helps because, again, you're pulling fresh, oxygenated blood flow to come directly to that area now that you have created all that space. So now your tissue is primed to absorb the nutrient that come in from that fresh blood flow. For example, if you are an athlete or everyday people who have go to the gym, you have a workout session for 45 minutes. You work on your quad, your glute, your hamstrings, your calf. Now, a lot of experts will tell you trying to replenish, feed your body within the 60 minutes post workout. Why is that? It is because now within those 60 minutes after your workout, your muscle, your system is primed. They're primed to accept and absorb the nutrient that you're feeding it. So same thing with cupping. Now when the cup is on with a constant vacuum on your tissues are in a prime state to absorb the nutrients to help it repair whatever the injury or ache that you have in that spot.
On a scale from 1 to 7, how confident are you that cupping works as a therapy?
I would go at 7, maximum amount of belief in my own personal and professional opinion that cupping therapy works.
On a scale from 1 to 7, how important is it for you to believe in things that are true?
I would say at 7, right? We human beings, we always say, give me the truth. As harsh or as terrible
as it may,
you want to know the truth, right? And then you can respond to that truth.
How do you know it is true?
In regard to
cupping therapy.
I know it's true based on my own personal experience and the experience of my paying customers.
Is personal experience a reliable way to know whether something is true?
In my opinion, yes.
How so?
How so? Because after a heavy workout, or strenuous activities, I cannot raise my arm into frontal raise or lateral raise. After I put cups strategically on my deltoids, my pectoral muscles, after a 10 to 15 minute treatment, I am able to do my frontal raise and lateral raise. And that is perfect example of proof that cupping therapy worked for me on personal experience.
What if there's a person named Tommy, and Tommy comes to see you and his muscles are hurting, and he wants to know whether cupping therapy works, and he's paying you for it to happen, and you're putting the cups on him, and afterwards he feels better. Is it possible that he feels better for a reason that's different from cupping therapy, or are we certain that it would be from cupping therapy?
Excellent question, Mark. Now, I know, for example, Tom would feel better. However, at my practice at Fluffy Tiger Massage, I preach to all of my clients and my students that I teach. Having your client feel better is one thing. We must elevate the standard of our treatment by showing them that they got better. So we humans always say, seeing is believing, right? How do you see that you got better? So what I do is when Tom comes in, if he said, Nick, my neck hurt, I can't turn left, I can't turn right, I can't look up or down because my neck is stiff. I slept funny last night. My wife threw me in the doghouse or whatnot. So what I do is I would have Tom move a certain way that bothers him, and I take pictures.
Right.
To see how
far
much
he could go.
Of a range of motion he has. And then after the session, he'll tell me he'll feel better. I say, Tom, hold on. Let me take some pictures, the same poses that we took pre-session. And then I show him right then and there, look, before I lay my hand and cups on you, when you turn left, that's all you got. But look at you now, your chin touching your shoulder. So that's how we know that it's effective, not just by, oh, I feel better.
Right. So there's a test that you employ to know whether cupping therapy has worked for your clients, and doing the neck test is one test. So for example, let's say you had Tommy, and then you had Todd, and then you had Jim, and then you had several people come to see you. Let's say they just, as a thought experiment, they came with the same problem with their neck, and you did a pre and post testing. And let's say that with all those people who came on a given day, let's say 6 people came on a given day, and then you did the post test,
Right.
and it turned out for whatever reason that they couldn't move their head any further than they could beforehand. If that happened, would you have less confidence that cupping therapy works at that point?
That is a beautiful way to ask that question, Mark. So, based on my 15 years of experience, I haven't had a client who said after the session that
Sure.
it didn't improve.
Sure.
Therefore,
But if that happened,
If
let's just say
there
that happened
was-
over like 8 times, 10 times, would you have less confidence in cupping therapy at that point, or would you feel as strong as you do about it now?
right. So even if I have a client who say, "Oh, that didn't work for me, XYZ," my confidence and passion in cupping therapy would not change one bit.
Oh, okay.
I would remain 100% believe in the effectiveness of it.
Okay, so it seems like that wouldn't be a good test then of whether cupping therapy works, because regardless of the outcome of the test, you're still going to believe in cupping therapy as strongly as you did before. Is there a test that we could employ that would show us whether cupping therapy works?
Right. That's a good question too. Now, in the professional scientific world, there's so many researchers who are smarter than I at big institution universities have tried to address that same question to show the public and the medical profession that, hey man, look, cupping therapy works. However, many years of research and studies with certain kind of data and key metric numbers, there's no metric that will ever, in my opinion, will show that, hey, this is how we're going to test cupping therapy to show everyone that it works.
There's no way to test whether it works?
There's no way to test, and I'm here to tell you, Mark, it is because in the medical world, what they have is RCT, randomized controlled trial or testing.
Yeah.
That is the gold standard
Right.
to test
Sure.
and to see if a certain medication, drug technique
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
There's no way to randomize control test cupping therapy, right? It's either one group receive cupping. There's no way to have a placebo group. It's either you got cupped or you didn't get cupped. So
There's no way, you think, to put a cup on somebody and not have the active vacuum that people... I'm just trying to think of a test of what we could do.
So if you have a cup sitting on your quad
Right.
with no negative pressure or
Right.
vacuum, so that cup is not doing anything. In theory, that's kind of like a placebo.
Right.
However, there's no measurement out of that, right? If you have no pressure on the muscle,
Right.
you can't measure a certain key metric. So say if you have a
Yeah.
vacuum pull on your quad, they have a way to measure how much torque, how much pressure, and what
Right.
it's doing for your muscle.
And it's also not a true test because you would know which group you're in, whether you're in the control group or the regular group, because you would
Exactly.
feel the suction
Exactly.
on your
So,
skin.
you know, as we're sitting here chatting today, 2021, there's still no method to clearly state or prove that, hey, cupping works. Although there are many studies out there that you can pull up
Yeah.
about how cupping therapy help with migraines, fibromyalgia. They have different key metrics
Right.
to measure how it's helped someone who have migraines or fibromyalgia or muscle aches. But the medical world won't and the public won't accept it because
Yeah.
it's pseudoscience. There's no randomized control to
Yeah.
show that, hey, Mark, look, it's real because we have the data, we have the science, right? With the pandemic going on last year, everyone wants to have the science and the data, right?
Mhm.
So that make me think about when you have Professor Koenig from Duke, right? He's the professor and the co-founder of the program at Duke. How do you believe that God's real?
Yeah.
There are no scientific evidence, right, to show that God exists.
Well, with cupping therapy,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems like you've had a lot of clients who have had good benefit from it. What I would like to know is, how could we tease apart whether it is cupping therapy that's helping them or something else? Because I'm sure when someone comes to you, they're hurting, and you're a nice person, obviously, and you talk to them, and you're friendly, and they probably just might feel better regardless after the therapy's over because,
Right.
you're a good person to talk to. How can we know whether it's cupping therapy or something else?
Now, if it's something else, Mark, I do charge extra for my shrink service.
Right.
No. I use that drill all the time. My
Yeah.
client, what you just said has some truth to
Yeah.
it, right? Especially what we had in 2020, right? When people isolate at home and then they come to a service provider who talk
Right.
nicely, and I think that also have an effect
Yeah.
mentally. However, muscles are muscle, right? If you come in and you say, Nick, I just work in my yard and I
Mhm.
can't move my back now. I think I bent over all day yesterday
Yeah.
and now I can't stand straight up. I don't care what kind of nice things I have to say to you, Mark, and I do nothing for your back. After an hour with me at my office that you pay for, you're not going to be able to move and stand up still. You see what I'm saying? So,
Well, maybe I should ask this then. If, and I'm not saying this is the case, but if cupping therapy didn't work like you thought it did, and it was something else, if it didn't have the effect you thought, how could we find that out?
man, that is a mystery of mysterious questions, right? How do we find out? How do we find out is if I put the cup on your back,
Yeah.
your low back, you say,
Right.
I've been digging in my yard all weekend. Now I can't stand up straight. I can't turn and move. If I put the cups on you for 20 minutes, I remove the cup and have you stand up and try to do those same range of motion that you couldn't do before, and you still can't do it, then I might start to wonder. Not start to not believe. I'll start to wonder.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Well, what would it take to show you that cupping therapy didn't work if it didn't work? What would you need to see to show you that it's not cupping therapy that's helping your clients?
Right. So there's a way to do that, and I have tried this, right? You stop the person from receiving cupping therapy that come to you periodically. Say once every 4 weeks they come for cupping to help them with migraines.
Right.
And they insist that, man, Mark, your cupping work on me. You take them off from cupping for 3 months. So they miss 3 cupping sessions.
Okay.
And if they say, hey, Mark, my migraine got worse.
Right.
Or, Nick, I feel like I miss cupping. It helped me with my pain. You took me off 3 weeks. Now I feel miserable. The migraine come on more frequent
I see.
and more intense. That's how I can tell that, hey, cupping was helping this client.
So are you telling me that if someone came to you with migraines and you gave them cupping therapy and then the migraines went away, right? And let's say you saw them 6 months later and they said that they still don't have migraines, and I don't think I need to come back to see you. Are you saying that at that point you thought you would think that that cupping therapy didn't help them?
No, I would think that cupping had a role
So you're
in.
saying that cupping therapy helped them with their migraines if they didn't come back to see you, and helped them with their migraines if they did come back to see you.
So if they haven't come back for 6 months,
Yeah.
right, and they say in those 6 month period,
Yeah.
their pain didn't get worse.
Right.
So I would say, hey, what other things did you do
Yeah.
to help maintain the migraine from coming back? While I still would believe cupping worked. Cupping did something. It might have
Right.
triggered something in their chemicals in their system to alter the way it flow in there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Let's just as an example, a thought experiment. Let's say that I believe that Jell-O, you know what Jell-O is, right?
Right.
Everyone knows what Jell-O. Jell-O cures migraines. I believe it. And when I give Jell-O to people who have migraines, they, after a while, if I give them Jell-O like maybe 3 days or 5 days in a row, they'll feel better. And sometimes they'll feel better for a long time. Sometimes they'll feel better for a short time. And sometimes it takes several Jell-O eatings to feel better. And what if I told you, just as for this thought experiment, that it's not the Jell-O? That's a false belief. But I believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And what if I told you that nobody could talk me out of that belief? No matter what you said to me, I will believe it till the day I die that Jell-O helps with migraines. What do you think about my belief?
I think it's wonderful, Mark. If you are someone who suffer from migraine pains, and when you believe, hey man, when I eat the Jell-O, my pain goes away, why not believe it? Keep eating the Jell-O, whatever make you feel better, right? Now, Nick, Jennifer, Mark might not believe that. Might think, oh man, Mark's what's in his Jell-O?
So eating
right?
Jell-O may make me feel better or make someone else feel better, but it might not be necessarily true.
Mm-hmm. So even if it's not 100% true, right? Now we're veering off a little bit, right? Sometimes a false true, if it's helpful, why not believe that it is true?
So it's okay to believe in a false truth if it's helpful.
I agree. Just like when...
Is cupping true in a universal objective sense, or is it a false truth possibly that helps you feel better?
That's a simple yet complex question, Mark, right? To me and many other providers, researchers, people who have PhDs, not post-hole diggers, real PhDs from Stanford, Notre Dame University, the professionals among myself believe cupping is true. Although we can't prove it scientifically, but it's true. The reason we believe it's true is because we can see results. Now, these people have results from labs, all right? I see results from real life experience. I do it for a living. I teach it for a living, right? And if it was a pseudo-true, pseudoscience, it would not have lasted over 5,000 years.
Does believing that something is true make it true?
Man, if it's a real true, then yeah, it is true, right? But if it's not true, yet helpful, I always believe that we should believe it because it's helpful. Now, if you believe it, but it's harmful, and it's not true, then that's a bad truth to believe in. Bad false truth to believe in.
So, I have chickens running around my yard.
Yes.
Let's say I don't know how many chickens there are. There are either an even or odd number of chickens. I don't know what the answer is. I presume you don't know what the answer is. but there is an answer.
Right.
Does what I believe or what you believe have any effect on what that answer is?
It shouldn't, because the number of your chicken in your yard should be a firm number once we take count.
Whether somebody believes that cupping therapy is something that works or cupping therapy that is something that doesn't work, should that have an effect on whether cupping therapy works? And it might. I'm just trying to think it through.
It's a complex, it's a simple thing. Does it work or does it not work, right? When you put it that way, it's simple, yet it's very complex.
If I choose to believe that cupping therapy doesn't work, will it work on me?
It may. Now, that's a great question, Mark. I love it. If that was the case with my real paying client at my office, I would propose a treatment plan for this person. Give it a chance. Give me 3 sessions where it's kind of like an experiment, right? The first treatment may not have an effect on you. The second and third treatment may start to change that flow in your system internally, and then you start to feel. Once you start to feel the change, your system might function differently, and your body can feel and move. The way you move is different, and then you start to say, hey, man.
Well, how would we know if it wasn't a placebo in the sense that I want it to work and it's like taking a sugar pill and me believing that it works versus that there is something about the actual cupping, the suction, the vacuum that's doing something for my muscle?
Right. So seeing the result and feeling the result is what I call seeing is believing, and that's your result.
It could be because of the vacuum. It could be because of the suction. It could be because of the placebo. We don't know, you're saying. Or do we?
So when you come in with a skeptical mind, right, I can't change your mind just by telling you that, hey, it's worked wonderful, it's X, Y, and Z. I can't place a placebo in you. You have to receive the cupping on you.
Yeah.
To say, hey, it didn't work. Or, hey, it did work. Now I have a change of mind, a change of heart, because I can move. My pain is less.
But could it work because I just want it to work?
In my personal opinion and professionally, it wouldn't work that way.
How could we find that out?
We find that out because if you already have a skeptical thought that, hey, this guy's full of it, this cupping thing is full of it,
okay,
but I'm going to try just to see.
Right.
So
I see. So if you have a skeptical mind and you go to do cupping therapy, you don't believe it, and it works, then cupping therapy works.
Exactly, right? So this is someone coming in.
But what if I go with a skeptical mind and it doesn't work? Then cupping therapy doesn't work.
It doesn't work for that particular person.
So then it still works.
It still works in my mind.
How could we find out it doesn't work if it doesn't work?
If it doesn't work, the person that's receiving the therapy would say, hey, it didn't work. Even though it's the first session, and then they say, oh, it didn't work. I don't want to try ever again, wasting my money. And we should understand that, right? That's their position. However, same thing. Going back to your previous podcast with Professor Koenig, how do we know that God exists? There are billion of people who believe in God, Jesus Christ, or Allah, or whoever God they worship. How do we know?
How do we?
Right. There are no scientific evidence to prove that, hey, man, God is real. God is right there.
Should we believe in things that we don't know?
We should. We should. Because, Mark, we live in a world with a lot of bad things, right?
Yeah.
People are taking their own life because they have no hope.
Sure.
No hope because they ain't got no faith, right? Because they don't believe.
And to you, what does faith mean?
Faith meaning believe in something that is good for you and the world, even though you cannot prove on paper or data that say, hey, man, this exists, this works, right? But faith is what you feel.
So faith is believing in something without evidence for that thing being true?
Right, because something in life you just cannot prove.
Should we believe in things that we don't have evidence for being true?
Again, if it is helpful, why not believe?
Well, in the beginning of the show, I asked you how important is it for you to believe in things that are true on a scale from 1 to 7. You said 7.
Yes.
Do you want to change your mind?
No, I'm adamantly firm on 7.
Well,
Even though
I'm a little confused because you really want to believe in things that are true at a 7, but you're telling me that with cupping therapy and other things, we don't know that it's true.
Most people do not know that it's true. I know there's some truth to it. That's why I say I'm adamant on the 7. Now,
but you're also telling me that if it wasn't true, you wouldn't be able to know that it wasn't true. So how do we know things are true if there's no way to know if they're not true?
Yeah, so you go by people experiences. Say, like, if I never been to, I don't know, Honduras. And these people of Honduras telling me, Nick, there is a Godzilla in that river.
Okay.
How the heck you and I, Mark, would tourists to Honduras, you and I wouldn't know there's Godzilla in that river. But we're going to have to take the Honduran people word that, hey, man, they live here all their life. This is their village. They know that river more than I know.
Well, if there's Godzilla living in the river and we want to know whether that's a true thing, if Godzilla exists, I would imagine, and tell me if I'm correct, that there's a test. There's a way we could find out whether Godzilla exists.
Yes, Mark. You and I would go in that river, wouldn't we?
And if Godzilla or somebody, or if Godzilla went in the river, and then there's a test, or we could drain the river, or who knows what, and we could find out whether Godzilla is in the river or not.
We'll find a way.
We'll find out. So we could probably get close, maybe not perfect, to whether there's a truth there. Does cupping therapy work the same way?
In a sense, yeah. And again, you know, there are many researchers, scientists, PhD people from really big university. These people are real smart. Over years and years, they have been trying to come up with ways to test this thing in the lab.
But I think you're telling me that there's not a randomized controlled trial way we could do that.
Because that is the only way the medical world would accept the results, right?
Well, that's one way, but if cupping therapy is true, if suctioning your skin, putting a vacuum on your skin helps my muscles, and it's true, I really would like to know it. And if it's not true, I don't want to believe it.
Right.
So that's why I'm asking you how you know what you know, because if it's a true belief, I'd like to believe it. Yeah. And if it's not a true belief, I'd rather believe something else.
Right. Mark, when we do a follow-up podcast, I can bring my cups. I put it right on you. And then you can tell me and your audiences, say, hey, man, this...
But it doesn't seem like that's a test, because if it doesn't work, you're telling me cupping therapy still works. And if it does work, you're telling me cupping therapy works.
Right. So when you believe in something so strong, right, and you can see that something is effective, not only for yourself, but for many other people in the public, you know, for you and your people, you know it's the truth. It's just you cannot prove it in a sense through a test.
So if Johnny comes up here and Johnny says, and I know how strongly you believe in cupping therapy, that strongly, Johnny comes up here and says, I do not believe in cupping therapy. I don't think it works. I don't think it does anything. And he really, really believes it. strongly, and you believe your belief just as strong. I just want to know what's true. How can I find out?
You can find out by asking, who is it, John?
Johnny, sure.
Say, Johnny, what bothers you? Right? He may have a frozen shoulder from playing baseball all his life. And if John say, hey, I'm not able to do this motion with my right throwing arm for over 10 years.
And then you give him cupping therapy.
And then I do my thing for his rotator cuff, say 10 minutes. We take the cups off right here, right in your show. And then we ask him to mimic that motion.
Right.
And then if it happened to be effective and true, Johnny would have a look on his face that say, oh my God, this thing works, right? So that's how you, Mark, as the spectator, can find out, say, hey, cupping actually worked. It did something for Johnny.
Right.
So that's how I would prove to you that, hey, this thing works.
And if it didn't work for him?
Then I say, give me a couple more shots.
And if it didn't work for him?
After 2 or 3 more sessions of the same metrics, same spot, 10-minute treatment for 2 or 3 more sessions. If it didn't work, then I would say, it didn't work for Johnny. However, it did work for Joe, Mary Beth, Josephine, Jennifer of the same issue, frozen shoulder. But
you would still go on believing that cupping therapy works.
Yes, because the rate of failure where it didn't work is so low.
But even, I think you're telling me, no matter what the rate of failure is, you would still believe in cupping therapy.
Well, I wouldn't say whatever rate of failure. I say because it's very low. That throughout my 15 years career. The failure where it didn't work for the public is so low compared to the successful rate, right? We live in an era where trust the science, trust the data is so important. If you look at the percentage of being successful and treatment that are not successful.
Well, back to my Jell-O example. Let's say Jell-O doesn't work. I believe it, but it doesn't work. How can you help me? How can you help show me that it doesn't work?
Have many more people who have the same migraine condition as you. Say 10 other people. Have them eat the same Jell-O that you're eating.
Right. And then I could comfortably know that Jell-O doesn't work.
Exactly. So
we could do that with cupping therapy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then if we gave cupping therapy to 10 people and it didn't work, then it doesn't work.
Then I would start to have doubts. But I'm so confident, Mark, if we have 10 people with rotator frozen shoulder problems, right? If we bring 10 in for an experiment and we did the same treatment for all 10 subjects.
I get you.
I would say 1 or 2, maximum 3 would say, that was crap, right?
So I get where you're coming from. So what I'm really trying to get down to is we're all walking around with these intense, really strong beliefs. And we believe them so strongly. And a lot of us have these beliefs that can't be shown to be false if they're false. I'm not saying they're false, but I think a lot of us have beliefs that aren't true, and there's no way to know that they're not true. And I'm wondering if the fact that all of us have these strong beliefs and a good number of them might not be true, that could get us into trouble somehow, you know?
Right. So if it's a false belief that is not true, that can get us in trouble. We got to use our common sense, right? And say, hey, man, eating 20 Jell-O a day might not be healthy for me.
But if someone said they want to use common sense to say that cupping therapy is not true, that doesn't, I would imagine that wouldn't jive well with you.
Right. I would say, hey, if that's your belief, I respect it.
Yeah.
We go on our merry way, right?
Should we respect beliefs that are not true?
We should, right? So it based on individuals. Say you're Mark Solomon, you believe Jell-O help you with your migraine. who the heck am I to say, oh, you crazy, right? Whatever the individual believes, as long as it's not harmful to society.
What if I respect the person, but I decide not to respect the belief if I think that there is not a healthy level of evidence to show that that belief is true?
Right. So that is a different opinion, right? It's okay to have a different belief in whatever the person believes in, as long as we can express that in a two-way adult conversation, right? I'm not saying, oh, Mark, you full of shit. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right? I say, Mark.
But we can have different opinions.
Exactly. We can have different beliefs.
But presumably, you want to know what's true.
Right? So the truth does set you free.
Let me ask you this. If cupping therapy wasn't true, I'm not saying it's the case, but if it wasn't true,
right.
Would you want to know it?
I would want to know it, right? So I would want to know so I can respond and address all the thought and belief I have in it all these years.
If it wasn't true, how would it change your life?
Oh, it would change drastically, right?
How
Because
so?
that's what I do for a living. That's how I earn my income. That's how I support my family. That's how I pay my mortgage.
I understand.
Right?
So if it wasn't true, and it seems like there's a lot riding on this belief.
Oh, yeah.
You believe it, but also it's a livelihood. You get a lot from this belief.
Right.
And just thinking of this just as a thought experiment or hypothetically, if it wasn't true, what would you do? Would you have a different profession? Any idea what you do?
Right. I would immediately stop doing cupping therapy. I'll just do my massage therapy.
Okay.
Right. So when I do cupping, I
So you would still do massage therapy, but not cupping therapy.
Right. So cupping therapy is a big part of what I do.
Yeah.
But if it's proven or per se, it's known like, oh, that's placebo, that's pseudo. Yeah. And it's proven to not be true, proven to not be effective.
Right.
I'll sever my relationship with cupping therapy. Right. You know what I'm saying?
But as it stands, that's not possible because it doesn't seem like anyone could show you that.
Right. So there are...
What if I told you that I only wanted to believe in things that could be shown to be false if they're false? And I did not want to believe in things that cannot be shown to be false. What do you think about that?
We would get along very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So let me say this, though. Although the medical profession say that there are no scientific evidence to prove cupping therapy work.
Yeah.
At the same time,
okay,
there are no scientific evidence to prove that cupping therapy does not work. So it's butting heads, right?
How do we show that something like cupping therapy doesn't work if it doesn't work? How would we show that any therapy doesn't work?
So you would test out the therapy, in this case, cupping therapy, on subjects who has certain muscular condition or some type of these illness.
And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
Exactly.
So there is a test we could do with cupping therapy.
Yes.
So if we did this test and it turned out for whatever reason that they did not get better, then we would have less confidence that cupping therapy works and we would believe less in it.
Right. So the medical
does that correspond
accurate
to what you believe?
Yes, that's accurate, Mark.
Okay.
So it's like your word, right? And you got to prove it.
Yeah.
Like cupping therapy, the medical world is not going to spend time to test it out to say it doesn't work. It's the responsibility of the people who believe in it to prove that it works.
Yeah.
So I like to see the other side to do it to prove that it does not work.
Well, how can you prove a negative? How can you prove that something doesn't exist?
Right. You would take...
Let's say I believe that green turtles don't exist. How do I prove that green turtles don't exist?
You better go kill all them green turtles.
It seems to prove that green turtles don't exist, I would have to account for all the turtles in the world and to make sure that none of them are green.
Right.
That's a hard test.
Exactly.
Is that a realistic test?
It could be if you put your will to it. If God willing and you're willing to, it can happen, right? Look, we make heavy metal fly airplane, right? We make tons of metal float on water. I'm sure we can find out about turtles.
All right, so we can account for all the turtles and then account that they're all some other color other than green.
Right, right.
Okay.
Man, your mind's been done.
A little bit. I really appreciate you talking with me. This is a wonderful conversation. I love your enthusiasm about this. This is wonderful.
You, Mark. Thank you for inviting me on, man.
Yeah, no, this is really nice, and I really I bet your clients really enjoyed speaking with you.
You know, I tell them all the time, if I make you feel better just by talking to me, I gotta charge you a different service rate. I'm not a shrink. You know.
Yeah, but I wonder sometimes if therapy is like Reiki and cupping therapy, and I wonder if there's that aspect of it, like you're a shrink in some ways, in addition to the therapy you're doing, I wonder.
Right, all joking aside, that human element is very important, right?
Yeah.
In any therapy, I don't care if it's touch, physical touch, or just verbally talking to someone. That's a form of therapeutic.
Yeah, we need to have that conversation and dialogue, and
exactly.
It's nice to have.
To hear someone out.
Yeah.
Not just talking, to hear them, to listen and have empathy.
Right.
For where they're coming from, for the content that they are spilling to you. They have a lot of trust to confide in you, right? To tell you about what they're going through, right? Especially what all of us gone through last year, right? For someone to confide in you, you better have an open mind, open heart to digest that. It can be very heavy, you know?
Yeah.
So I joke around quite a bit to lighten up the situation. But, you know, sometimes you got to turn it on to be sincere, to have that empathy so that they can tell. And my client knows when it's the joking Nick and when it's the serious Nick, and we can have an adult conversation.
Have you ever had a situation where cupping therapy is not working and you change the way you're interacting with the client you're talking, and that helps?
Mark, that's a great question. I would like to have that happen to me one of these days. I never had it happen yet to me. Okay. So I can't tell you that experience because I never had it yet.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I've learned a lot about cupping therapy, and it's honestly something I did not know much about.
Yeah, well, I thank you for having me on, and anytime you want to find out more or get an experience, let me know.
All right.
We can do something. We set something up, and it'd be a great experience for you and your audience.
That's a good idea.